Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to News Desk. I am Bernice Abubedulansa. In this hour package, Electoral Commission dismisses claims by NDC that it's attempting to insert the name of one of the NPP aspirants into the Assin North voters register ahead of the by-election. And President Mahama commemorates June 4, describing the economy as the worst ever. We've got details plus business in this bulletin. Please stay tuned in. It's a pleasure to have you here. The details now. The Electoral Commission has dismissed claims by the NDC that it's attempting to insert the name of one of the New Patriotic Party's aspirants into the Assin North voters register ahead of the by-election. The NDC had on Sunday revealed that the NPP aspirant, Charles Opoku, is not a registered voter in the constituency, adding that the illegal move will help him contest. Responding to the allegations in a statement, the EC insisted they were false and should be treated with the contempt it deserves. Let me bring you some more details of that statement. So, NPP and the Electoral Commission, in a plot to illegally insert the name of an unqualified NPP parliamentary candidate into the Assin North voters register. So here's the Electoral Commission's response. The Electoral Commission's attention has been drawn to a misleading press statement attributed to the National Communications Office of the NDC, alleging collaboration between the NPP and the EC for the purpose of transferring the vote of one Charles Opoku to the Assin North constituency to enable him contest the upcoming by-election. We wish to state that this is not true. For the records, the NDC has not, the EC has not received any such request from the NPP to transfer the vote of any person. This allegation is false and a figment of the author's imagination. As usual, it is aimed at maligning the integrity of the Electoral Commission. Now, the statement continues per Article 94 of the 1992 Constitution. A person does not need to be a registered voter in a particular constituency to enable him or her contest election in that constituency. Per the Constitution, simply hailing from a constituency entitles a person to contest election in that constituency so long as the person is a Ghanaian, 21 years and above, of sound mind, and a registered voter. In the event where a person who wishes to contest in a particular constituency does not hail from that constituency, that person will be eligible to contest if he or she is ordinarily resident in that constituency or has been a resident there for a total period of not less than 5 years out of the 10 years immediately preceding the election for which he or she stands. We make this point to buttress the fact that a person who hails from a constituency per the Constitution need not be a registered voter in the constituency he or she wishes to contest in. Simply hailing from there is enough. As such, there is no reason to engage in transfers as being alleged by the NDC's communications officer. It is a well-known fact that the current commission has been the most transparent and accountable in its operations. The commission has carried out its mandate in strict consonance with the Constitution. To date, the NDC has not proved a single allegation they've made against the EC. The continuous maligning of state institutions such as the EC by the NDC only weakens and undermines our democracy. The EC will continue to uphold transparency, fairness, and integrity in all its operations. We urge the good people of Ghana to trust us to continue to deliver credible elections. And this is signed by the Public Affairs Department of the Electoral Commission. We've been joined on the phone lines by the Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. SRI Bokwako. Hello, sir. Thank you so much for your time this morning. So we just highlighted details of that particular statement that the EC released in response to the NDC's claims. Beyond this, is the EC hoping to reach out to the NDC as a party and also find out if there are further details or on its allegations and see how you can work out the differences?
I think the statements that are written, because we know we have not received any letter. We know we are not doing letter. So we will have put what is there available to everybody to hear or listen. So that if anybody has any other contrary to the person comes up with it.
Right, Mr. Kwaku, quite recently we saw you working with the NDC in its primaries, and then much later in the by-election we saw you on the ground working with the two major parties. In that statement, you talk about continuous allegations of this kind made by the NDC, which for you weaken our democracy. I'm just wondering if the Commission has any plans of, beyond the statements you release, to let the general public make an informed decision based on what the two parties are saying. Do you hope to go beyond that? Because you seem to have a problem with that in that statement.
What the statement is clear. We will continue to do what is right. So if anybody has any evidence that something is not being done right, the best to substantiate that. We are not continuing to counter accusation and accusation. It doesn't help anybody. So what we are saying is that the truth is always prevail. And we know we are not doing anything to do it.
Right. We appreciate your time here, and that's Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. SRI Bokwako there. Meanwhile, the New Patriotic Party has condemned the statement by the NDC, describing it as baseless accusations. Let me bring you details of that, also captured in a statement. The New Patriotic Party, I beg your pardon, is not seeking to transfer any voter to Assin North Voters Register. Ignore the NDC's baseless claims. The New Patriotic Party has taken notice of a press statement issued by the National Democratic Congress on June 4, 2023, signed by the party's National Communications Officer, alleging that the NPP is in cahoots with their collaborators in the Electoral Commission to transfer and insert the name of one Charles Opoku into the voters register of their Assin North constituency. True to their character, the NDC statement is replete with spurious claims and baseless allegations intended to mislead the Ghanaian public and, unsurprisingly, prepare the ground for them to reject their imminent embarrassing defeat in the Assin North By-Election. For the avoidance of doubt, the NPP wishes to, by this statement, set the record straight by responding as follows. The NPP emphatically debunks the allegations that the party is, quote, in a plot to illegally insert the name of an unqualified NPP parliamentary candidate into the Assin North register, end quote. Over the years, the NPP has worked hard to maintain its enviable position as the pace-setter of multi-party democracy in Ghana, which includes the strengthening of independent democratic institutions of state like the Electoral Commission. As such, we cannot be the party that would engage in any acts that would jeopardize the nation's democratic gains. 2. The NPP has no parliamentary candidate for Assin North. As publicly advertised, the party is yet to hold parliamentary primaries in the Assin North constituency to elect the party's parliamentary candidate for the by-election. It therefore beggars belief how the NDC is able to determine our parliamentary candidate ahead of time. And to suggest that we are plotting with the EC to illegally insert his name in there. So it's quite a lengthy statement there. They also talk about what the constitutional requirements are as captured in the EC's press statement I brought to you earlier. So that is signed by Richard Ahiagba, and they end that statement by assuring Ghanaians, particularly the people of Assin, that the party is committed to upholding and defending the 1992 Constitution. We have Mustafa Bande on phone. He's Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Mr. Bande, thank you so much for your time. So the EC and the MPP have released statements denying the claims made by a communications officer of your party. Now, they quote the law, which is, for them, basis enough to floor that allegation. They say that there's no need to transfer anybody's votes because once the person hails from there, the person can contest without even being, without having their name in the register of that constituency. What exactly informed this allegation and your response to what we've heard from the MPP and the EC?
Thank you very much for having me. I think basically, let me state that it is an established fact, undeniable, from the two collaborators in the DAC, MPP and Electoral Commission, that Charles Opoku, who is one guy, filed to contest the MPP primary, is a voter in Takwa Nsoyem constituency and not Assin North. Now, we also stated that under CI 127, a law guiding the public election in Ghana, Regulation 22 of that election states that when you are seeking to transfer a vote for the purposes of these elections, it should be done within 42 days before the day of the election. So, quoting Article 94 to cover up or to explain that which we have raised as a fact, we are not talking about MPP's election guidelines. We are talking about the possibility that the individual, as we speak today, is a Ghanaian. He is a sound mind. He is more than 25 years old. He is a registered voter in Ghana. That suffices under Article 94. But he is not a voter in Assin North. And trying to make mockery of that issue is pedestrian, is preposterous, and coming from very lazy officers of the public, such as the Director of Election Services you just spoke to. And I believe that even referring to matters of fact that we have brought out as a figment of imagination and a pursuit to attack the integrity of the Electoral Commission is overrated. We are not attacking the Electoral Commission. We are bringing out what they try to do behind the scenes. We have investigated on the young man, and we have evidence that as we speak, Charles Opoku is not a registered voter in Assin North.
But both the NPP and the EC say that he doesn't need to be a voter there to even contest. So there's no point.
Why are they not framing Nanado to be the parliamentary candidate there? Why are they not taking either John Boadu or taking Kenda Japan to go and be the parliamentary candidate? That is preposterous.
I'm not getting your point here. I'm not getting your point here, Mr. Bande.
Saying that if you do not need to transfer your vote in any part of the country, and the law is that merely because you are a Ghanaian under the provisions contained in Article 49,
and you come from the place, so it's specific, right? If you hail from the place, it's
we
there.
Are not arguing about.
If you don't hail from the place, you must be living there for a certain number of years, and we read all of that. So I'm just wondering why you're bringing in the president and Kennedy Japan.
We are talking about the person's existence in the register of Assin North, and that he is not in the register of Assin North as we speak.
And they are saying that he doesn't need to be in the register to contest to be an MP.
That is why I'm saying,
so
why
there's
are
no
they not
point.
taking anybody from Accra to go and contest that seat? It is like saying that you can come from the north. Because you hail from Assin North, even though you vote in the north, you can come and contest election in Assin North. And we are saying that there's subsidiary laws regulating the election under Regulation 22 of CI 127. Is it not the Electoral Commission under that law?
But you know the Constitution is the mother law, right? So every...
Wait. Under that law, you are supposed to transfer the vote. And that you are supposed within 42 days prior to the election. And that with less than 20 days, the individual cannot the day of the election to make him eligible to contest that election. Even though he hails there, he does not vote there. So the MPP was in cooperation with the EC trying to transfer his name into the register. And we are saying that he does not qualify on the basis of want of time because he requires 42 days to qualify to vote.
Mr. Bande, do you agree the Constitution says that if let me use myself as an example here because I think we need to break it down a bit. If I come from Cape Coast, that is where I come from. I do not live there. I can contest to be an MP in that area even without having my name in the register because I hail from Cape Coast. If I do not come from Cape Coast and I want to participate in an election in Cape Coast, I must have lived there for a certain number of years to qualify. So the argument of the Electoral Commission and the NPP is that, look, we don't even need to put his name in the register in the first place because the Constitution allows him if he hails from there or if he lives there. So there's no point.
So how is he going to vote then?
Well,
how would verify his name to vote then?
Well, he can decide to contest but not vote. There are two different things. He can decide to contest in a place and not vote for himself. There are two different things, aren't they?
Is it not the same law, the Constitution that establishes CI 127, that regulates the conduct of elections?
So you're suggesting, Mr. Bande, you're suggesting that even though he may not need, his name may not need to be in the register to stand as MP, because he wants to cast his vote on the day, the EC and the NPP are trying to push his name into the register. So for you here, the argument is not that his name is in the register to give him legitimacy to be an MP, but it is so he can cast his vote. Is that what the party is saying?
Simply put, we are saying that Article 94 is the mother law. Article 94 establishes the criteria under which you are qualified to contest as a member of parliament. And that Charles Opoku has all of those characteristics, except to say that he is not a voter in Assin North, and that the law, CI 127, Regulation 22, establishes that he ought to have transferred his vote, and that as we speak, he is not transferred his vote. And the Electoral Commission is trying, he requires 42 days. And the number of days we have to go for this by-election is less than 40 days. And so he wouldn't be able to transfer his vote. That is all we are saying. If the fact that you qualify and hail from Assin North and you vote in Tamale or you vote in Accra, you can go and file to contest a member of parliament there without voting there. If that is the logic of the MPP, then I call that preposterous stand, because that is not the law. Much as we will respect to leave that for the lawyers to look at it, all we are saying is that we have exposed the conspiracy between the Electoral Commission and the MPP to bring in a candidate who does not qualify under the provision of CI 127 Regulation 22. That is our position.
Right. Thank you for your time here this morning. Mustafa Bande is Deputy General Secretary of the NDC. Still, they maintain their allegation that the MPP and the EC are conniving to put a certain Charles Opoku's name in the voters' register in Assin North for him to contest The EC and the NPP have denied the allegation, but the NDC still stands by its statements. Well, let's stay on politics. Flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, says the current state of Ghana's economy is worse as compared to what led to the June 4 revolution in 1979. That revolution was led by the late former President Jerry John Rawlings. Mr. Mahama explains the country is experiencing economic hardship, high inflation, and corruption due to bad governance of the NPP. He was speaking at the 44th June 4 anniversary celebrations in Hohoe in the Volta region.
They prefer to better their lot and improve their circumstances to the detriment of the millions of ordinary Ghanaians. Opulence, ostentation, gaslighting have become this government's preference, even as unemployment reaches unprecedented levels in our history. Almost all the independent state institutions carefully built and nurtured over the decades to ensure sound, balanced, and equitable governance have been deliberately weakened and bastardized through politicization and subjugation to the will of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia administration and the ruling New Patriotic Party. Ours is a country in dire need of proper leadership and governance. The June 4th uprising occurred for far less than what is happening in our country today. The national decay can only fester. The national decay can only fester under this NPP mandate. A new revolution, this time of a democratic and peaceful kind, must take place at the elections of 2024 to end the suffering of our people and enable us to begin resetting our nation. That when that new dawn breaks, the governmental rot, the economic hardships, and the insensitivity to the plight of the people, and the offensive corruption and waste of the people's resources will be a thing of the past. To the millions of young Ghanaians out there for whom affording one meal a day is a very serious challenge, and for whom leaving this country in droves, even at the peril of their lives, is a preferred option. To the thousands of business people whose businesses face ruin because of the gross mismanagement of this economy, I urge you not to despair.
Away from that, the World Bank Country Director to Ghana, Pierre-Frank Laporte, says Ghana's energy sector debt is a major contributor to our debt woes. He indicates his outfit had identified certain factors that were driving the country's debt situations. According to Mr. Laporte, one of the factors the bank has identified is in the energy sector. He spoke to George Riafe on PM Express Business Edition.
Those contracts that you've signed, those PPAs, are just too expensive. Too expensive, and the kind of PPAs you sign is take-or-pay, which means Ghana is paying to the electricity that is not even being produced. Yeah. You have double capacity. Yes, over time, usage will improve, so your excess capacity will go down. But the fact is, in the last few years, Ghana entered into some PPAs that were the wrong types, in our view, and at the wrong rates, at the wrong prices, and today you are paying dearly for it. And also, it has an impact because today we're talking of clean energy. Yeah. Many companies want to come to Ghana to do, solar and all. Yeah, government wants probably the best thing to do, but you are still caught up with those that you have to pay because you are tied up in these contracts. So you will take new ones, you will pay them.
Let's get further analysis on this with energy analyst Kojo Poku. Good morning to you, Mr. Poku. Thank you for joining us on News Desk. So we just heard Mr. Laporte, and he makes statements like we entered into the wrong PPAs and suggests that because of that and the backlog of debt, we are unable to engage new companies that are willing to come in and even go into other sectors of power production like solar and all that. You've been speaking about this. I remember the last time I engaged you where we were talking about Dumso and the imminency of it and what we should be doing to correct it. Now we've heard from the World Bank country director, and he says it's too expensive in the first place. Well, what are your general thoughts about his concerns?
My sister, good morning.
Good morning.
I think we live in a country where people put emphasis on what the external people say than what we as a society say in Ghana. All the things the World Bank director said, civil society have been saying it for the last 3-4 years. This seems to take us. Even when you write a paper of that, newspapers and journalists don't even want to report it. But today, because the World Bank rep have said it, it's news everywhere. The issue of power purchase agreement that signed between 2012 to 2015, yes, nobody would argue that those PPAs were too expensive. Two, nobody will argue that major part of our indebtedness in this country is the energy sector indebtedness. We have said this over and over, but it looks like everybody wants to look away and think that, look, let's go to tomorrow. So him saying it is only a reiteration of the things that civil society in Ghana has been saying for the past 3-4 years.
But for me, probably the issue for many people is how this ties into the World Bank's position in supporting us, where they talk about certain reforms in the energy sector that we must stick to or implement. Now, for many people, growing up in Ghana, for me, I'm sure, and for a lot of people, the pride was, oh, you hear the Akosombo Dam, you talk about Ghana, production of power, and all. How did we get here? Where was the point at which we lost the plan or we drifted off the track?
We've never had a proper plan for the energy sector. There's never been a proper plan. We wait till we get into the problem, then try to do a quick fix. Remember in 2006, 2007, we had a small problem with the J4 project, the 1 megawatt plant. Then we moved the ball. We didn't solve that problem completely. Without looking at, okay, this was just a symptom of a problem yet to come. So let's address it in the long term. We took our eye off the ball. In 2012, we got stuck with power crisis, which we had now known previously around 2006, 2007. Nobody planned for 2012. So now we got into 2012, and because we were in the crisis and we were dire, we signed all these power purchase agreements that was expensive, or should I say it's expensive, okay? Now, look, everybody tried to talk about this excess capacity conversation and how our debt is part of that situation. It's true. When you start up with PPA, we were paying for power that time we were not using. So the excess capacity conversation is only true for 2017, 2018, 2019. By the time you get to 2020, the excess capacity conversation has gone away. It no longer exists. Because 2020, you need to start planning to procure new power. We've gone 3 years. It is actually talking about the procurement of new power. There's talk of a new plant in Kumasi from Ameri. There is some plants being coming up in Kumasi for the Kumasi enclave. If those are become on stream for the next 3 years, then we can probably have a problem. But we need to have a proper medium to long-term planning when it comes to the energy sector, which is something that we don't have. Because we do not have those plans is why we find ourselves in those situations all the time.
I know we have had conversations about what the solution to the problem is. My question to you today is, do you get a sense of commitment to solving the problem? And like you hinted, CSOs, local analysts like yourself, keep pointing to the problem and preferring solutions. But we usually would give it a bit of weight if it is linked to a certain grant that the World Bank has to offer us, etc. Do you get a sense that there is that commitment to clear our energy sector debt and improve the sector in such a way that we move beyond this almost always waiting to get into the problem before solving it, and get into a more anticipatory place where we can look forward and make good projections so that we are always ahead of the game?
Well, is there a commitment? Yes, there is some level of commitment. Is it enough? No. I wouldn't say that there's no commitment, because the Ministry of Energy has been doing some work to try to forestall. But you see, it's a multifaceted problem. Now that we are talking about generation, one of the biggest problems we have now is also fuel, natural gas, availability of gas to power these generation plants. Okay? Now, secondly, now you need money to basically pay the existing IPPs that you owe. One of the problems we put ourselves in as a nation is we've come out to say that, look, going forward, we will not give any guarantee. We wouldn't do any take or pay. We'll do take and pay, which means that come and build your plant. We won't give you any guarantee. As and when you produce, we'll pay you. No investor is going to do that. The only ones who are planning to basically play around with that theory is the existing companies who are already here. The problem you have with the existing companies is that we procured the initial PPAs from them very expensive. So when you are now negotiating with them, you are basically negotiating down from a very expensive PPA. So you look at it as, oh, maybe this is cheaper. No, it's not. Because where you are coming from, you should have been there in the first place. So look, there is commitment, but there isn't enough commitment. Two, the situation that we find ourselves where we are not paying the existing IPPs, it makes it difficult for people, new entrants, new investors to come in and put their money in the energy sector without giving them the guarantee that they need. Thirdly, we now find ourselves in that position of fuel scarcity where we might not have enough natural gas for all these plants that are to come on. So look, it is a problem that needs 120% attention. Now we're giving it about 60%, and I think there should be more that needs to be done.
Kojo Poku is an energy analyst sharing his thoughts on comments made by Mr. Laporte, who is country director of the World Bank to Ghana. Away from that, authorities seem unmoved by enormous potholes in roads causing vehicles to jolt. But here's what some young guys are doing. They're offering to fill them up. That's what they've taken up as their job. Have you considered that they may be praying against your efforts to get the roads fixed? In our second episode of the Ghana Portholes exhibition, features editor Jojo Kobna has more.
A sudden sound of Portholes symphony. When your vehicle joins the chorus, then be rest assured that a hole will be created in your bank account. Driving on pothole-riddled streets means you have to constantly drift off your lane. From afar, you start looking like a drunk, needlessly turning the steering wheel. If you're wondering why the government is not fixing your potholes, well then, you guessed right. It is because there is no by-election in your constituency.
You've been agitating, demonstrating, crying out to government, and even praying to government to fix your potholes. But there is one man who is praying against that prayer.
If I'm a recorder, if I say I believe I cried almost 15 years in him. I say cried almost 6 months. Will be a mamma and Timiana, I am a baby, and I'm a cosa. The bomb prices soon to say. I said, and I'm a mayor. Yes, it will be said, be because I'm a person of a baby. I have a severe IBA. The person bay. I didn't. Obviously, I'll be not chop money.
With so much passion fueled by hunger, he sometimes dangerously approaches drivers and sometimes weaves in between vehicles, begging for coins to put food on the table for his family. For 3 years, he has been filling these potholes with soil on the Iran Clinic stretch, not only for the driving comfort of drivers and passengers, but to eke out 11. So would you be happier if God listened to your prayer instead? This crater is starting to take up the whole lane. A few meters away are well carved out potholes, more like asphalt or worry. They cover the entire stretch and you cannot save your car from them. So why not stop there for a game of a worry? Which office do you contact when the street is beyond pothole repair?
MP, why the answer? Ubaya road no, also on your road, but some man. As some man Subagasa, there be young, DC is Subagasa young, na present. Na some of whom are true say, Ghana for one drain. Ghana for some one drain. Ah, the master do obiva diango and answer when we say or that out. Is a governor, won't go to move. What a shock, Master Adrian.
Yes, Ghana's roads can leave you enraged. So like COVID-19, you have to learn to live with it. When it rains, the craters become river-wide, suitable for fishing. So I went for a hook and line. And oh, what a great catch it was, right in the middle of the road. So, with all these prospects, why would government cover them up? Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
So you can join the conversation using hashtag #GHPotholes. Let us know what you're enduring as well. Tell us your stories and we will be glad to highlight them here on Joy News. Well, earlier on the AM show, we spoke to some people within the sector who understand these issues very well, and they shared insight on how potholes can be dealt with.
Say, Joy News to Circle had just been graded. I've been compacted with a gravel. And then the first bitumen, which is smaller, was what is called a primer seal, had just been applied to seal the surface of the gravel. And now maybe the contractor abandons the project and leaves site, citing maybe non-payment.
Right.
To the layman, that is a completed road because he has seen application of bitumen and chips on it. So in that, no matter how good that road had been designed, that primer seal cannot hold the volume of traffic. In fact, even when it rains severely for some time, that road may be awashed because it is just a primer.
Right.
So until the first seal and the second seal is applied onto that road cannot be classified as a completed road. So that is what I want viewers to start to appreciate. And by appreciating, it means that when viewers or listeners within their jurisdiction see that there's ongoing construction, I think that there might be concern. People should start to ask a lot of questions so that they will appreciate any level at which their construction is being constructed. And then the contractors may also have to provide adequate information about the contract, the award of contract, the duration, the type of road, so that people may just call on whoever is responsible so they can get better clarity when some of these defects start.
Safety of the user, we are interested in all the categories of roads. Some gravel roads, paved roads, roads in the rural areas, feeder roads, urban roads, the trunk roads or highways. All the roads are very, very important because we are talking about use. People use them. Now, the very moment the road is interacting with human beings, we come in. And then we come in to ensure that the road is as good as can be used by any other person in a manner that he can traverse from origin to destination safely. Now, unfortunately, somehow, if you look at the statistics, we are recording crashes more on the trunk roads, what we call the highways, than all the others. In urban roads, within the urban setup, we are recording crashes. But these are crashes that usually involve hit pedestrian, motorcycling, and vehicle, and so on. But on the highway, we are having problems as regards head-on collision, as we call it, and so on. So roads generally are very, very critical to us. If you go to the rural areas, especially the feeder roads, we are now recording much of the crashes there because the vehicle population is low anyway. And again, the roads are also not as good as you can find on the highway. So you find vehicles not speeding like we see on the major roads on the highways. So I must say generally, we are interested in all the roads, all the categories of roads. Somehow, we try to focus a little bit on the urban roads, as roads within the urban communities or environment.
Still on the road, some members of the Resurrection Power New Generation Church sustained various degrees of injuries after an accident involving 4 vehicles. This happened at Menskrom Wager Junction on the Accra-Kaswa Highway on Sunday. We'll hear from our correspondent, Seth Kofieje, soon. First, here is an eyewitness account.
I don't know, police now, one man, and according to say, the police said, one man said, drivers, one of us, so who say, son on the driver. Police now, yes, I didn't. So police, so I do farm black. According to family bad, and a police, no, why overtake woods one or day back. It's your best, I'm not be so cross. The driver is sending me on Sylvia. I come up on not going to be back. One of me,
so they know.
Fred for calling up on here. About being a person if you can. Can't anyone.
Correspondent with sister station Adum News, Seth Kofieje, joins us via phone now with more details. Kofi, what's the update on the victims?
Then source from Akari Government Hospital indicates that they have referred about 5 of the victims to Kwalebu Teaching Hospital for further treatment, whilst about 10 of them are still on admission at Akari Government Hospital, whilst the remaining have been treated and discharged from the facility. And fire service from Greater Accra region came and they have towed both cars from the accident scene with safety police.
Kofi, we just heard from some eyewitnesses who were alleging that the accident was caused by a certain drunk police officer. Yes, at this point, what more have we been able to gather? What exactly happened?
What happened was that the driver of the Toyota Vitz Black, who was driving by a police officer from Kaswa direction to Accra. And according to Eyewitness, he was totally drunk. I think he went for some funeral, so he was coming back to Accra, but he was totally drunk, driving carelessly on the road. So he made a wrongful overtaking, and in the process, failed and crossed the Resurrection Power car, which caused the accident. So 4 cars were involved. Even one of the old Benz drawn in a stagnant water around along the roadside. So fire service came and they were able to
remove that vehicle. Yeah. So we can see a vehicle on our screens that is turned upside down, submerged in water.
That was the old Benz I was talking about. The car was also part of the accident car.
Okay, so that what happened to the occupants of that vehicle?
They were all rushed to the hospital for treatment.
Okay.
So if that comes a total of 50 people who were sent to the facility.
Okay. So the black Toyota Vitz we've seen, which is quite damaged, was it a police officer who was in that vehicle?
It was a police officer, and even some of the church members even have been arrested for allegedly assaulting the police officer because they thought that the police officer was drunk and he caused the accident. So initially, some of them tried to attack him, and when police officers from Odoko arrived to the scene, they arrested about 5 of them, 30 members who, tried to assault the police officer.
Right. Okay. We'll leave it here for now. Seth Kofi AJ is with our sister station, Adum TV, bringing us an update on that. What we understand now is that some of the injured people have been transferred to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital for further treatment. Others have been treated and discharged. There are a couple of others still at the Akawe Municipal Hospital. We will be reaching out to the police to get a lot more details, especially on the officer who is alleged to have caused the accident. You're watching News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Up next, we have business news. Daryl Kwao is standing by with the very latest. Do stay with us.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The Petroleum Commission says it is committed to protecting the livelihoods of fisher folk whilst engaging in its drilling activities. According to Acting Director of Human Capital and General Resources, Adjoa Van Vika, the Commission's focus is on reducing its plastic footprint. She made this known during a cleanup exercise organized to mark World Environment Day. Here's more.
The World Environment Day is celebrated globally on 5th June every year under the auspices of the United Nations Environment Programme to create awareness about the adverse effect of certain human activities on the environment and to adopt international and pragmatic measures to protect it. This year, the spotlight is on reducing, reusing and recycling plastic waste with the hashtag #BeatPlasticPollution. It is against this backdrop that the Petroleum Commission has embarked on a cleanup exercise to create awareness of environmental pollution towards building a greener and more sustainable future. Adjoa Van Vika is Acting Director of Human Capital and General Services at the Petroleum Commission.
The Petroleum Commission, as a responsible institution, is taking proactive steps to create awareness and promote initiatives to reduce its plastic footprint. Last year, the Commission joined in His Excellency the President's vision to green Ghana by planting trees at our external car park. This year, the Commission has outlined activities to include specific measures to segregate our plastic waste.
Mrs. Van Vika also revealed that the Commission is committed to ensuring that its exploratory activities do not affect the livelihood of the fisher folk.
We work on the seas because our drilling activities are on the seas, and our fisher folks around the coastal areas are complaining that even the fishes these days, they catch more plastic than they do fish. Once we are drilling, we don't want to take away their livelihood, so this is how we can also help for them to appreciate that the drilling is necessary for Ghana to, get the natural resource and then to get some exchange. But they must also continue to work. And if we kill the fishes with our activities, then they will complain. So that is the way that, in a way, we're not directly linked to it, but as much as possible, when there are other celebrations by the UN, we try to take part and then bring people's attention to activities that concern the planet generally.
The Petroleum Commission's cleanup exercise saw some of its staff clean up the premises and environs of the company to mark the World Environment Day celebration.
Chartered accountants have been admonished to take advantage of technology and data analytics for competitive advantage within the profession. According to country managing partner at accounting and auditing firm Deloitte, Daniel Owusu, the accountant of the future needs to be technologically savvy in order to evolve with the changing industry. He spoke at the 41st graduation and admission ceremony of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ghana, held in Accra.
In his speech as guest of honor at the ICAG graduation and admission ceremony, Daniel Owusu said that the profession has evolved from manual processes to the use of technology. According to him, the needs of businesses are growing, hence the relevance of technology and data analytics to extract meaningful insights from vast amount of information within the accounting profession.
As accounting professionals, you can either plan for change or be pushed out. We need to increase our knowledge and use of technology. Undoubtedly, the accountant of the future will need to be technologically savvy to evolve with a changing industry. As graduates and members, we should wholeheartedly accept these technological changes and use them as a competitive advantage. Another skill we need is data analytics skills. The needs of businesses are growing. There is the need for data to make business decisions.
For his part, guest speaker and Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Professor Abednego Amate, who delivered a speech on behalf of the Minister for Education, challenged the graduates and newly admitted chartered accountants to distinguish themselves.
White-collar job as your source of manna. You can make your own manna and be a supplier to others. Remember that a word to the wise is always enough. Therefore, step out there and dare to be counted.
The 41st ICAG graduation and admission ceremony, which is the second in 2022, awarded certificates to graduates who successfully completed the Institute's qualifying examinations in December 2022 and March 2023. 73 members were conferred fellows, while 202 qualified accountants were issued certificates. In all, 620 new members joined the Institute, having satisfied specific qualification criteria. Rose Bewa and Charles Denchi Jr. emerged overall best Level 3 graduating candidates for both diets respectively.
All right, that's it for business. Handing it back to Bernice.
Thank you so much, Daryl. That's an interesting story over there about getting abreast with technological trends. And that's how we end this edition of News Desk with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Today, our headlines: the Electoral Commission dismisses claims by the NDC that it's attempting to insert the name of one of the NPP's aspirants in the Assin North voters register ahead of the by-election, and President Mahama commemorates June 4, describing the economy as the worst ever. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. We are also very interactive on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We are Joy News on TV. Thanks for your company. Do stay with us. This is home of independent, fearless and credible journalism.